just as the title says, this is now my third time being laid off from a job. It happened to me 2 days ago, and I am completely numb. I should be panicking because my financial security and stability has been taken away from me in the blink of an eye. But what is that going to solve? You could look at it on the flip side and say, well, if you're not in fight or flight response mode, then you're not going to be motivated to rapid fire apply for other jobs. But I truly believe that this is the universe's way of guiding me towards the next direction and chapter that I need to take, which is that of self-employment. It's something that I have aspired to do for an extensive period of time. And I even talked about it in a previous video I made where I revealed that I worked at a very toxic organization and how that experience by itself motivated me even more to want to become my own boss. This company that I worked for, I was hired there this January. It is now September. You can do the math as to how long I was employed with this company. Not very long. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, you just sound privileged and you don't have it as hard as other people who have experienced a layoff recently. And I just want to say this, hold up. I fully acknowledge and I sympathize for anyone going through a layoff, more specifically, those who have dependents, mortgages. There are entire families that have uprooted their lives for a new job opportunity, relocating to another state or going overseas to a different country. And then they get the horrible news that their position has been terminated. Can you imagine? So when I look at my situation, it's nowhere near as severe. Yes, I live alone. I'm 30 years old. I rent an apartment. I have bills, as I mentioned earlier. Thankfully, I don't have children and I don't have pets. So I'm just going to have to hustle a little bit here. I've been in this situation before. And this third time around, I feel I have a much better handle and grip on my emotions, and I'm not as reactive and negative about it. Woe is me mentality. Because despite what you hear on the news or read online, the job market is not flourishing. There aren't a plethora of jobs out there to apply to, okay? There are people being laid off as we speak. I went on Reddit the other day and I made a post on one of the forums, and I just kind of went into a rant about how I just don't have it in me to truly feel, I don't know what the word is. I don't have it in me to feel disappointed that I lost my job or defeated, because we are all disposable. These companies do not care about us. It is every man for themselves. The minute they see the chance to discard of you when you're no longer of service to them, or if they're only looking out for their own financial gain or benefit, it's bye-bye. All of that hard work, loyalty, and dedication that you invested into a company, it's down the drain. It doesn't matter. They don't care. There's no need to get emotionally attached to a company. And that's exactly what I've been doing going forward. Is I know that these jobs are just here to help me stay afloat and survive, okay? At the end of the day, it all comes down to corporate greed. Despite what you hear about inflation and the prices of products and services rising, listen, we are way beyond that. We are now in probably a recession, and these companies know that they can milk you of every penny, dollar that you have because they know you need it. And so they're just taking advantage of you. I think you get the gist. Something that I dream about doing is becoming a full-time YouTuber. And I do realize that it is a long shot, okay? That is a lofty goal. It may take a long time before I see the results that I'm seeking on my channel. Building an audience, keeping viewers captivated, grabbing their attention, that's a tough thing in and of itself. And I'm well aware of that. To me, YouTube is the only thing that makes sense. It brings me happiness. It allows me to channel my creativity into something and to help out other people along the way. But realistically, I can't just bank on YouTube to help me reach my financial goals and financial freedom. It's not realistic right now. I still have to figure out a way to bring in income. Every time I tell someone that I want to make YouTube my full-time job, they encourage me and support me, but I can tell that internally they're scoffing and they're wondering, is she that delusional to think that that could actually happen, that that could come to fruition? But you know what? That's okay. That motivates me even more. Someone commented under one of my videos one time that I would never achieve my goal of becoming a full-time YouTuber because my content wasn't interesting and I only have 300 and something subscribers. And I have to laugh because let me tell you something. If people are hating on you, you're doing something right. And for me, that lights a fire under my belt to keep it pushing and keep proving people wrong. Because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of courage to pursue a passion that may or may not provide you with the results that you aspire to see. It's crazy because I went from a toxic nonprofit organization to a for-profit company that is extremely well known nationwide and even internationally. And I had a wonderful experience. I was not laid off from this now previous position because of my performance. There was company-wide layoffs. They were going through a reorg. There was a hiring freeze. There was a travel freeze. There was a budget freeze. They were doing some major restructuring, and crazy part is I knew that this was going to happen. I didn't have the urge to be proactive and start sending my applications out to other places, despite knowing that this day would come. Because I really want to give myself the chance to try being my own boss. And if it doesn't work out, well, that's okay. At least I gave it a shot. Ironically enough, I'm going through a personal restructuring in my life. If you know anything about astrology, then you've probably heard of the Saturn return, which occurs around the age of 29 years old. Everyone who reaches that age does have to endure the Saturn return, which is not a walk in the park. But once you come out of it, you are much more stronger, resilient, well-rounded, and you have learned some really valuable lessons. And for me, my Saturn return is happening in my third house of communication. Communication is something I've struggled with my entire life. I have never been someone that felt confident expressing my needs to people or reaching out to others or setting boundaries and learning to say no. But now it's all happening. I feel like my voice is being heard and I have no more shame in expressing the person that I am and showcasing the person that I am. And it all comes back to YouTube. YouTube has given me so much confidence, and that is why I enjoy it so much. I feel like even if I don't ever achieve monetization on YouTube and I'm not able to make this my full-time income, I can at least know that I helped many others along the way. There are several videos I've posted where I've received great feedback and appreciation from random strangers all over the world. So moments like that truly make me feel grateful that there is this platform and we have the chance to make our voices heard. But I'm trying not to go off on a tangent because the purpose of this is about being laid off. Listen, my plan right now, well, actually there isn't a plan. I'm going to apply for unemployment. I will get a little bit of a severance. I will get paid for a few more weeks. They didn't have to do that, but they did. And from what I hear, like getting a severance and being paid out until a certain day is almost unheard of these days. You know, I do have a side income that I've been doing for 3 or 4 years now, and that helps out a little bit. But I've also been wrestling with the idea of leaving Chicago. I've lived here my entire life, except for a brief stint over in LA. I didn't even last more than 6 months in LA. So I came back here, and I knew that I didn't want to make Chicago my home base, but I ended up staying much longer than I had intended to due to life circumstances. Now I feel like I'm ready to relocate and give a new place a chance. I realize that no one is coming to save me. I'm on my own completely. No one is coming to save anybody at the end of the day. We don't know when our time is up. We could step outside and take a walk and something could happen. We could get into our car. Something could happen. I hate to be morbid and pessimistic, but I don't want to waste any more of my time putting my energy into something that isn't fulfilling me. The fact of the matter is, living in Chicago doesn't make me feel fulfilled. I've lived here my entire life, as I mentioned. It is basically all I know, and it just hasn't worked out. Jobs, dating, friendships. It's time to turn a new leaf. As for where I want to go, well, that is $1 million question. I have researched other states, but nowhere appeals to me. I know for a fact that wherever I go, the weather has to be warm 365 days a year. I can tolerate a minimum of 50 degrees, but I'm so over winters, snow, shoveling my car, bundling up, having cabin fever because going outside is uncomfortable and you practically can't do anything enjoyable. I think I'm going to move out of the country because that has also been an aspiration of mine. Even if I go for a year, I believe that it will truly change me for the better, and I will walk away with a different outlook on life. When I went over to Europe a couple years ago, I remember returning home and I felt so different, but in a positive way. And I just think that the world is my oyster and nothing here is anchoring me down. So this is the perfect time to go. If I don't go now, I probably never will, and I will regret it for the rest of my life. I'm at the point where I'm going to probably turn my car in, sell it for something, even if it's for a little bit amount of money, pack up all my furniture in my apartment and put it in storage, cut out any extra unnecessary expenses, and just go. I don't know. I just feel like what's holding me back besides a little bit of fear, because if you go somewhere that you're not from, especially out of the country, and you're on your own, you have to figure it out. You have to be the one to make connections and advocate for yourself, find a place to live, find a job. I can't go back to live with my parents. First of all, I was never coddled, never babied. Growing up, I was taught the importance of independence and having your own income, your own place to live, and to not rely on anybody. And that has its pros and cons, right? But the point is that I can't go running back to my mom or dad and ask if I can live with them until I get on my feet again. It's either I find a new job, or I plan my move, or I'm homeless. Because let's be real, is unemployment going to be able to cover my expenses? Hell no. So I don't have much time here. I need to get acting now. I have a lot of regret because growing up, I was taught that going to college is the pathway to financial freedom. So I did that. I went to college for almost 5 years and I got the degree and I got the job. But now I have a bunch of student loans that I can't pay because I can't afford to. Interest is accruing. The debt is piling up. I can't find a job that wants to hire me for a long period of time. A lot of people can't. A lot of people have prestigious roles and degrees, and they've been searching for upwards to 3 years with no luck. It's really bad out there. I made a post on Reddit the other day, essentially venting about my layoff and how I just don't have it in me to care anymore. And I was surprised at the amount of responses and support that I received. There were many comments that stood out to me, but I'm only going to share a couple of them, starting with someone who said, "I felt this way too, but it's a roller coaster for me. Don't be surprised if you find yourself going through the stages of grief over time. Some days I felt amazing to be away from a toxic environment, and other days I'd be angry and down out of nowhere. It's hard to predict." I have to wholeheartedly agree, because when you lose your job, you will go through the stages of grief. And there is no way to know how you will handle it. For me, I'm someone, when I experience a traumatic event, I retreat into myself and I shut out the world. So it makes sense that I'm feeling numb about this whole situation. But who knows, in another week, a month, 6 months, a year, it might hit me and I might have a full-blown mental breakdown. I do struggle with anxiety and depression. I also have a personality disorder. In another video I made, I talked about my mental health journey and how I was officially diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I did purposefully leave out my personality disorder diagnosis because there's a lot of stigma around that, and I wasn't ready to share it publicly. But I'm here to tell you right now that yes, I do have a personality disorder, and I'm not going to go into details on which one it is, but all of that in culmination with each other is in of itself a challenge. If you have mental illness, you know that it's a daily battle. It's important to be easy on yourself as much as you can. Granted, I just got laid off, but I am going to make a deliberate effort to go to the gym every morning and trick my mind into thinking that I still have work to do, because if I get complacent, if I get lazy, then I'm in a world of trouble, right? So it's important to be proactive and to stay as busy as possible and make time for the things that you enjoy, because otherwise you will just end up rotting in your bed. The last Reddit comment on that post I made that really hit my soul on a deep level states, "I will not care if I get laid off. I also don't have any dependents. I live alone. I have some savings, but I don't have enough saved to last 2 years of not having a job. 1 year maybe. I am stuck. I will have to work the rest of my life. I will have to pay rent. No way around it. This is what worries me. I'm a forever indentured servant. What is the point of saving for retirement? I might as well enjoy my life for the short amount of time that I can live off savings." When I freaking tell you, this is some truth. We all know that the housing market is a hot mess, and the probability of most millennials and even Gen Zers obtaining a house is slim to none. It's not what it used to be, right? When our parents were growing up or starting a family. With retirement, I was just telling my mom the other day that I don't really see the point of saving for retirement, because how the hell am I going to know if I'll even make it to retirement age? Sometimes I have to wonder, like, what am I saving for? Because the money that's in there now is going to be chump change by the time I am ready to retire. I don't see myself in the near future owning a home. Like, I really don't know if that's ever going to be my story. I may always be a lifelong renter. And I've come to peace with that, and I try not to bog myself down about it. But yeah, I mean, it is like indentured servitude. If you don't have a job, you're not going to survive. You're not going to be able to cover your basic necessities, your basic needs as a human being. In America, sadly, we attach our job to our identity. If you ask someone, "Oh, tell me about yourself," the first thing that most Americans want to say is, "Oh, I'm a lawyer. Oh, I'm a doctor. Oh, I'm an accountant. Like, when you go to other countries, they don't lead with that statement. They lead with their personality traits or their hobbies or their interests. But we have just been so brainwashed into this capitalistic society and hustle culture, and it's just so chaotic. It's so chaotic. Trust me, I don't like being in this predicament. I don't want to be in this predicament, but these are the cards that I've been dealt. And I have to stay grounded and on my 2 feet and be as positive as I possibly can. I also have to remember that I'm not the only one going through this, unfortunately, and this is just the state of our economy right now. It does suck having to go through this alone, for sure, but I have to look at the bright side and say that this is the universe pushing me towards the path that I've been needing to go down for a long time. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I got laid off. I'm sure there are going to be people that know me that will watch this video, and that's fine. I think there's power in being vulnerable and opening up about personal experiences like this because, again, you're not the only one going through it. That's where I'm going to end this off. I could say a lot more, but I've got things to do, you've got things to do, and I appreciate you for listening and being here. If you're also going through this, please drop a comment. Let's support one another. Like this video. It helps to send it out to other viewers. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll talk to you soon.